Hello everyone, and welcome back to the series where I talk about myself and my life in music. The other day, my dear friend Curtis asked me if I could pick any guitarists, alive or dead, to jam with, write with, and hang out with. Who would I pick? I thought about this for a bit, told him that it was a great question and I would answer it in a video. So that's what's up today. I'm going to make up one condition for these made-up hypothetical situations. I'm imagining that any guitarist I pick to do any of this stuff with would actually enjoy doing it with me as well. I say this because, as fun as it would be to hang out with a guy like Frank Zappa, in theory, realistically, he probably wouldn't want to waste his time with me. Let's start out with who would I most like to jam with. I'm going to go with the most cliched answer here, Jimi Hendrix. But I mean, there's good reason why it's the obvious go-to. First of all, the guy is commonly regarded as the greatest guitar player of all time. There's no denying the fact that he shaped guitar as we know it today, and jamming with somebody of such importance would be incredible no matter what the result. He's a huge influence of mine, and I've studied so much of his work that I don't feel like I would be out of place stylistically playing with him, and seeing some of those licks that I've spent so much time obsessing over played right in front of me would be something really special. I mean, so much of what I do as a guitarist is directly or indirectly related to Hendrix that playing with him would be like getting in touch with my roots. About 10 years ago, I went to Japan with my family. It was my first time being there, and despite the name of my YouTube channel, it's a pretty distant cultural connection for me. I don't speak the language. I'm a fourth generation Canadian. My dad doesn't speak the language. I don't follow their pop culture. You get the idea. But despite that, going to the country was a special experience for me, partially because I felt a strange connection to the place. So what I'm thinking is playing with someone like Hendrix, who has been such a huge impact on one of the biggest aspects on my life, would be like that except on a grander scale. On top of that, the guy was very much into jamming. It was a big part of his music, and with musicians like that, you can just start playing and you're gonna have a good time. My runner-up for this one would be Stevie Ray Vaughan for pretty much all the same reasons as Hendrix, but one of the things that stands out to me about Stevie's playing is he was kind of a freak of nature in a good way. The intensity that he played with for an entire show is something that I can duplicate for maybe 10 to 15 seconds at a time. I mean, just being in the same room as him as he wailed away on that iconic Strat would be pretty close to my version of heaven. Next up is who would I most like to write with? And for this one, I gotta go with John Mayer. And before you leave me a rude comment, which I know a select few of you are going to, remember, this is my list, these are my truths, and the nature of this video is entirely subjective. But I deeply love John's style of songwriting, even if I don't necessarily love every song he's ever written. He very much comes from the Pat Pattison School of Songwriting, who is an instructor at Berkeley, also the author of one of my favorite books, Writing Better Lyrics. I know this to be fact because I discovered this book when I heard John Mayer refer to it as his Bible. If you're interested in it, I'll put up a link to it in the description. I feel like I understand how he writes music, and it's similar to how I go about it as well. He just happens to be infinitely better than I'll ever be. Being able to write with someone like that would be an incredible learning experience. Whereas if I sat down with Omar Rodriguez from the Mars Volta, who I also happen to be a big fan of, I feel like there would be no chemistry because we just approach music so drastically different. My dream writing scenario with John would be I come in with a strong idea that he helps shape into something beyond anything I could ever come up with on my own. I say to him, "Wow, John, this is awesome. We should be friends." And he goes, "You know what, dude? I feel the same way. I've actually seen a bunch of your videos and I like what you're about." And then we form a crime-fighting songwriting duo, which is documented in a manga. My second choice for this one would be Tom Petty. The guy just seems so cool and I love his music very deeply. If we were doing a category today for whose band I would most like to play in, it would be his. In fact, let's do that. Next up, whose band would I most like to play in? For me, it would be Tom Petty. Moving on, last for today, who would I most like to hang out with? And it's gotta be Keith Richards. I've been fortunate in life to have spent some time with some bona fide rock stars. And one of the best things about those experiences was hearing the stories that they had to tell. And who on this planet has any better stories than Keith Richards? As far as the music that I like goes, no one. The guy has seen it all. He's a walking piece of musical history. He's cool as a cucumber, and he's just the right amount of strange. I mean, he snorted his dad's ashes. That right there, that's a story I want to hear in person. I want to hear about recording Exile on Main Street in France. I want to hear about the time he got punched by Chuck Berry. I want to hear about Altamont, drug addiction, all that stuff. And in my imaginary dream date with Keith, we would be driving around LA, going from one vintage guitar store to the next. Crush a couple beers at Big Dean's Oceanfront Cafe, and then as the sun's setting, I would say, "Hey Keith, if you could pick one guitarist to jam with, write with, and hang out with, who would it be?" To which he'd reply, "It's you, Sammy G. It's you." I'd smile, the biggest smile I could smile, and then he would say, "Gotcha, what the f*** even is a YouTube guitarist?" All this would also be documented in the form of a manga. My runner-up for this one would be John Frusciante because I don't know that there's anyone else in the world quite like him. I would love to hear his thoughts on music, the Chili Peppers, and what he's up to now. He seems like a truly unique and incredible person, and I love a lot of his music. That about wraps it up, but I want to pass this question over to you guys. Out of any guitar player, alive or dead, who would you most like to jam with, write with, and hang out with? Let me know in the comments. I'm really quite interested as to what you guys have to say. And for the first hour or so after a video comes out, I try to read and respond to almost everything. Though I may be counting my chickens a little bit early, I don't know what I'm going to be up to the day that this video comes out, though I do often try to do that. If you're interested in picking up some Sammy G merch, head over to www.shopsamuraiguitarist.com. I've got 3 different designs up there right now. There are shirts, baseball tees, sweaters, and all different colors, all sizes, ready to be shipped all around the world. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you want to watch another video where I blab about myself, hit that link up there. A big thank you to everyone who supports my channel through Patreon. To all of you guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.